Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. This episode will release Friday before the National. I'm doing it in advance of that. My episodes release early in the morning, so this is before that. Hopefully it's timeless wisdom. Some of it applies just to this year, but most of the tips are good for any year. They're kind of last-minute tips for the National. So thanks, sponsors, all of whom I think will be at the National. Huggins & Scott Auctions will be there. My buddy Bill will not, but they will still be there with the rest of the team, and I wish them well. A real challenge to show up when your founder is gone. But again, shout out to Bill and the legacy that he's left behind with his family and business. Also, Heritage will be there, Topps Panini Upper Deck, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. First, a big thank you to the Brogy and Burkus families. Many years ago, it was Mike Burkus and John Brogy, but now the whole families are involved, and they've done a great job, and this run has come to an end. I think they're going to go out on a great note, and yet I'm hopeful that Joe Drellick and his three amigos, they're going to be doing great going forward. But there may be a new standard set this year. Booth space is up. I hope attendance is really up. I'm really thinking it already is the biggest national in terms of square footage, I think, and number of booths. I hope it is also for attendance, because you need both those things to go up at the same time. Otherwise, you've got too many tables and not enough money in the room. And really, it's money in the room more than attendance. I'm trying to figure out some kind of like a GNP, a gross national product within the Rosemont Center there. You've got all this amazing stuff at all the tables. Now, all of it's not in play. Some of it's for display, but I'm sure it's $1 billion worth of memorabilia in there. But also there's cash, and there's other cash equivalents, the budgets that people are bringing. And those things need to be in equilibrium. There needs to be enough money coming in to seek the good stuff, and there's plenty of good stuff there to buy, and hopefully they'll meet with pricing that's agreeable to both buyer and seller. This is the biggest show in terms of money in the room and stuff in the room, and hopefully there's a lot of action, things changing hands, whether it's trades or sales. You can't just talk about cash, because there will be a lot of cash sales, but there's many other forms of payment. Okay, tips that I don't think I've heard, and I'm not going to number them, but find the closest bathroom, know where it is at all times, but also find the second closest bathroom. There have been bathroom problems at various nationals in the past, and so you need to know where the close one is and then where the other one is, because, like I said, they have been problems. They get a lot of usage. I bring a backpack. Some people bring a roller suitcase thing that you can fold up, and some people carry hand luggage. The backpack works better for me. I occasionally will bump into people when it's close quarters, but hopefully I'm not crushing them. At the beginning of the day, my backpack is pretty empty. Toward the end of the day, it might be a little fuller, but still, it's no fun getting bumped into by heavy roller luggage that somebody is cavalierly dragging behind them and leaving a wake. I don't wear headphones, don't put in earbuds. I know a lot of people do, and they can hear fine with them. But what I've done now, I realized at the Nationals, I have my phone in my pocket. Probably not the best place to put it, but I'm not as responsive to texts and phone calls and even voicemails. And so I got an Apple Watch. So I have an Apple Watch now, so it tells me immediately. I can see it. It's right on my wrist. So I think that's hopefully going to be not too much of a distraction, but I should be more accessible in that way. If you're looking for me, I think this could be the very first national that I don't get around the whole room. I'm definitely going to do some dollar boxes, and I'm camped out there for a while. And I'm definitely going to go see my old friends that I always see every year. But I don't know if I'm going to really get around to every part of the room. It's 50% bigger. I do have some dinners planned that are different groups, an OG group. I think I'm going to do the content creator get together. I'm going to do the hobby hotline dinner, and I've got one more thing in there too. But through it all, there's plenty of opportunities, especially at dinner, to get a bunch of rich food as well as a fair amount of alcohol to overdo it. Hopefully, I don't think I will. I don't usually do that. Can't really bring water, because you can't bring water in your carry-on. And water that I buy at the grocery store is such a fraction of the cost of buying water at a show. But I'm still going to drink some water. I'll get some bottles and go through them and have a Sprite or something like that. That's not a commercial. I bring an extra luggage this time. I didn't last time, and I really was bailed out by the kindness of the Beckett media folks there, Jeremy. They brought back a whole bunch of cards, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to be a little more conservative about buying, and I'm going to bring luggage like the Russian doll concept where you have luggage within luggage. So if I do get more stuff that's more than just my carry-on, I will have stuff that I can either mail back or bring back. I'm Advantage Platinum, so I don't get charged for extra luggage. But still, it was way more last year than what I could have even fit in any amount of luggage. It was just too much. Again, with 50% more booth space, I don't think that means I'm going to buy 50% more cards because there's only so many hours in the day. Rich is not my shadow, but sometimes he's camped out at similar dollar boxes and is aware of where I am. It used to be that people would go to the Beckett Media booth or the Beckett Publications booth to try to find out where I was. Now, I like those guys, but I'm not on the payroll. And sometimes they know where I am. And Rich frequently has some sense and it can be contacted by cell phone and things like that. I can't say where exactly I'll be, but I've made a list of some dollar box places and a list of other booth holders that I definitely want to see and visit with. I'll be at one of those places. Since I'm going to be roaming around some percentage of the time, but sitting down a lot of the time for long stretches, I tried doing the airline inflatable pillow that goes around your neck and sitting on it. That lasted for about 15 minutes. Now, I'm not a huge guy. It's just not meant to be sat upon. So I went on Amazon and I got an inflatable seat cushion. I don't know that I'll need it, but sometimes there are chairs or situations where if you're sitting for an hour, not a big problem, but 2 or 3 hours, even when you're getting up and stretching, it's still a little sore. It came with its own inflator. And so I'm going to give that a try. I bring energy bars. I guess everybody does that. And I'll have water in my bag. This is not for everybody, but for my physiology, I sometimes think that no food is better than bad food. Now, that's just for me. I'm not suggesting that for anybody, but if it's toxic food, obviously that's true. But I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about junk food. And so I have some energy bars and I'll have some water. I'm not aware of anybody starving at the National. I don't think that's really something that's going to happen here. Let's see. I bring business cards. People don't even know what that is anymore, but it has my email address and some other information for how to contact me. So I give those out a few. And then I've got my fan favorite cards, Topps made 18 years ago. I bring a few. I don't charge for signing them. And sometimes people bring me their own copy and I sign it, or I'll pull out one of my copies and sign them. I've got plenty of them. I'm happy to do that. I don't really like it if somebody gives me a stack of them, but I'm happy to sign for you and your friend or your son or your daughter or whatever. As far as storing luggage, I haven't really heard that when you're doing dollar boxes, you can't really put what you bought in the hotel room safe. And again, they're not valuable enough to put in there. So they're going to be left out. So I'm hoping the housekeepers at the various hotels are not also collectors. But when you're leaving on the last day, there are times when I put several boxes of cards in my luggage and left them at the hotel to pick up later to go on my flight on Sunday afternoon. And you wonder, are the Bell guys going to go through and see, hey, that's pretty heavy. I wonder what's in there. Hey, that's interesting. There's some cards in there. What I do, I just be a really nice guy when I bring it. I say, I'm dropping this off. Can you store it here until this afternoon when I'm leaving for the airport? And they say, sure. And then I tip. Sometimes you tip when you pick them up. This is an instance where I just tip. And I don't want to tip too much. If I tip too much, oh, hey, what's going on here? He's being overly generous. But I'm going to tip a normal amount and say, thank you very much. Take good care of my luggage, personal stuff in there. I appreciate it. So that's good. I'm going to get there rested. I don't know that I'll be as rested as I could be, but you certainly don't want to get there in some kind of sleep deficit. And I think I can debunk this. You can't get huge amounts of sleep the week before so that you're going to not sleep when you're there. You can't store up enough sleep if you're not going to be sleeping. I've said I did some all-nighters, but I never did 2 in a row, going without sleep 2 nights in a row. You start doing dumb stuff and having a problem with that. My sleep is good now. It's good to get good quality of sleep. When I sleep less, sometimes I sleep better, but there's a lower limit to that. If I only sleep 1 hour, doesn't matter how great it is. I don't want to be 23 hours on and 1 hour off. I bring comfortable shoes. Everybody does that. I think I'll bring 2 pair. I don't think I'll bring more than that. And I have some cushy socks. I bring pullovers. I've mentioned in another episode of the fear that we all may have of the Wi-Fi going out, but also the fear of the air conditioning going out. Usually it's the other problem is the air conditioning is blowing like crazy perhaps like early in the day before all the people get there, because they want to make sure it's cold enough to absorb the huge crowd. I always throw a pullover in my backpack, and I can pull that out. Hopefully I don't need two of them. Lastly, the other thing is that I don't wear Beckett paraphernalia. I do have Beckett shirts and caps and pullovers and all those kind of things. And I don't normally wear those. They seem to be a little distracting. I'll wear them sometimes, but I don't usually wear them at a show because it just means, I guess it would mean people would stop me, and I'd rather meet people more naturally than be a billboard when I walk up. But in spite of that, whether I do or don't, and this is for me more so than the average person, is that it's a strange environment. I'm at the National, and I'm hearing my name a lot. And they're not calling for me. They're just mentioning my name as an adjective, as a verb, as a noun, whatever, but not so much as my particular name. They're not calling out to me. They're mentioning something about the company. And I just got to tell you, it's a little bit surreal, and it's almost impossible to completely tune it out, but you can tune it down. If you hear it enough, then you think they're not shouting out to me or even mad at me or anything, just the Beckett brand and the name. I mean, if they're saying something about the company or BGS, yeah, I like eavesdropping on that to get honest opinions of collectors of how the company's doing. And I want to be an encouragement to the current regime, as well as anything that's for the good of the hobby. So anyway, those are some last minute National tips. I will be there. I've been to every one. I don't know how long I'll keep my string, but I'll keep my string as long as I possibly can. And it's just a great event. I think this one will be the best one ever. I hope to say that again next year. The next one will be even better than this one, which was the best one until that time. So again, see everybody there, and it's going to be great.